We'll call tonight's special meeting with executive session to order. I guess Debbie, again, note attendance as it is, and then as it changes probably. And we will go straight into executive session under ORS 192-6602A to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, specifically to interview finalists for the permanent superintendent position. Executive session, returning to open session. And as far as contract parameters, so we have a number of things that we need to begin discussing. I wasn't going to force any particular one of them to begin right now unless any other board members wanted to. There are, well, one thing I'll point out is that as far as contract negotiation, I've had one board member mention that they were interested, and if anybody else is interested, you should let me know. That's something that we should bring up, and if we wanted to discuss it and even decide it tonight, that's fine by me. If you guys haven't had enough chance to think about it, that would be fine, and we can talk about it at another time. So as far as the rest of the parameters, you know, a lot of them, as far as the contract itself goes, we've actually hammered out. You know, I revisited that contract and kind of looked at it in our discussions from whatever 8 months ago. I don't know that there's a ton there that we're going to need to go back through. A lot of the variables probably are going to get discussed during contract negotiations with the actual candidate. As far as our parameters go, I doubt that we're going to need to preset too many of them, but maybe we should, just to be clear. You know, we already have a salary range, you know, how many holiday paid vacation days and things like that. Those types of things are generally fairly standard, and I sort of don't anticipate them being issues. I'll stop talking for a minute. What other things are of concern to the rest of the board that you guys want to make sure that we dedicate time, perhaps tomorrow evening, to discuss?
I noted a few things. Number 8, renewal. I brought that up before. I think we need to determine the term of the contract and renewal provisions. And then the termination business talks about 60 calendar days on either end if either party wants to terminate. And I'm wondering, I mean, is that what we want? I don't have an opinion on that. I just thought it's something that might be it might be of interest to some other board members.
I would agree with Janet. Yeah, excuse me, Jennifer. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I agree with you. I think those are excellent points to discuss further. Maybe not tonight, but possibly later. But
well, one thing on the termination clause that I'll mention is that when we were working our way through the language the last time, I had advice from, I think it was both OSBA and legal, that sort of gave us some direction that most superintendents were looking for currently. I mean, it's kind of some standard language. We tried to make some modifications to language that were ultimately not adopted because of the discussion with the candidate. So, you know, the contract is a public record, but what's in it is probably going to be standard fare as far as termination. We can revisit it. If you guys want to bring a specific point of view to the table that says, okay, this particular clause is a concern and here's why, maybe that's helpful. But more broadly speaking, I believe we ended up with what's going to be considered kind of standard fare on that clause.
I'm good with that. It's good to have that explanation that I'm sure that you told us that last year, but I've forgotten. So thank you for just going over that.
Yeah, no, it's easy, and trust me, I mean, I had to revisit it even myself, and I think I wrote a lot of it. It's one of those things that, I don't anticipate probably there being much room there. On the renewal side, this part actually was really easy last time I actually talked about it. I believe standard is a 3-year. I do not know if that's what you're referring to anyway, like a standard 3-year superintendent contract. I don't know what else is on the table in terms of standard or if anybody would entertain one. I do believe it's improbable that you're going to get somebody to come in without enough support to know they can make changes if they need to. That was something that we talked about quite a bit last time, and I know it came up during my discussions with our current superintendent. So anyway, just food for thought. If people have ideas, though, again, I say bring them to the table. Let's talk about them.
And maybe I'm wrong on this, but I am pretty sure that Lisa Fraley did talk to us about the potential for, not having a 3-year, having something shorter. And I don't remember the specifics, but I'm pretty sure that did come up. So I don't know if we pass this by her again or discuss it. I mean, I totally get what you're saying, Jonathan, about the, needing time to make a difference. And I just want to make sure that we're all comfortable with the renewal term.
No, it's a 3-year commitment is a big deal. Now, the last time around, of course, we were only doing an interim. My recollection was that the interim process was, of course, the 1 year. I do, like you, remember something about shorter contracts, but what I don't recall is if that was just in the context of the interim. I know it can only maximum be 3 years, I believe.
It was before the interim business.
I see. Maybe that's what it was. Got it. Thank
Well,
you.
and I would still really like some clarity on what, I don't know if this is the official name for it, but what I would call a rolling 3-year, which is where every
Yeah.
year you added a year and it became a new 3-year contract. I think there was some conversation about whether that was, if that was standard, if that was something special, if that was something we should reconsider.
Yeah.
I can share in my experience that is extremely standard
Okay.
to have that every year when you renew. It's a rolling 3 years, so that it's very common. Doesn't mean you have to do it, just that it is something that is widely used.
Also not something, Janet, that's in the contract, to my knowledge. It's actually something that's standard practice as far as renewal of the contract, but the contract itself doesn't stipulate that it's
really?
subject to a rolling review or a rolling 3-year renewal.
Okay. Well, that's helpful.
Sarah, maybe I misunderstood the question, but Sarah, is a less than a 3-year contract anything? I believe a 3-year contract is pretty standard. Do districts do anything less than a 3-year contract?
Some do, but the majority will do a 3-year. You might hear from some folks that they recommend a 1-year contract, but like Jonathan kind of alluded to earlier in what he was saying, it's, who's gonna take a chance on that? It's not a great idea, in my opinion, to try and offer a 1-year contract. That's a big jump for someone to make without any sort of safety net, if you will. I could see starting at 2 years or 3. I wouldn't go more than 3.
Yeah, definitely more than 1. I think I'm in favor of 3. Issues in a school district, there's so many people in person. It takes a while to unwind. If problems are occurring, it takes a while to unwind them. And perhaps you need to give somebody a few years to say, hey, give them a few negative performance reviews if they're not doing right, and hopefully put them on a corrective path. So I tend to, there's a reason that most districts for a long time have done a 3-year contract and they renew it every year. And I think that's something we should stick with.
Well, if I may say something, it's no different than putting a dog in a small cage. We're giving them a good sized kennel. You can't make the restrictions so bad nobody's going to apply or want to stay there, or they feel like they're walking on eggshells.
Oh,
That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ruth. Anyone else? Okay. So, oh, go ahead.
oh, if it's okay. I'm hearing a lot of good things. I feel that I understand if that's what traditionally happens, with the contract, it makes sense because it's got a little bit of history and understanding. But how does the rest, so if the rest of the board is comfortable with it, I guess, Jonathan, we can discuss this too at another date, can't we? I mean, this isn't just, we're not determining anything now, I guess, is what I'm asking. We're just,
Correct. We don't have
Okay.
to. I mean,
Okay.
Ultimately, we have to determine this, but we don't have to determine it tonight.
okay.
One of the things that I guess I would like to get people thinking about, there's a clear trade-off. Let's just say there's 1, 2, and 3 years as an option. I don't think anybody's proposing more than 3, and you can't do less than 1. Okay. So if we're assuming that it's 1, 2, or 3, the question on the table is, what are the pros and cons of each of those? A 3-year contract, which is standard, says, I'm going to give you some rope. And I guess if you hang yourself, you hang yourself. But I'm going to give you the rope so that you feel freedom and the safety net to do what you think needs done. A 2-year contract, I'm just going to call it middle of the road. You're not fully giving them your trust, but you're at least more than a year. A 1-year contract says, we're scared to do anything as a board, and we don't trust you. So you're going to have some pushback from candidates, and you may well lose a preferred candidate who's unwilling to sign a 1-year contract.
I agree with all of that, Jonathan. That was a great way to summarize all of those options. And Lori, to kind of answer your question a little bit deeper, none of this has to be necessarily decided until you guys have identified your top candidate and you're about to go into contract negotiations. So the reason why we have this on the agenda every time we meet for search related things is so that by the time we get to the finalist stage, you've got everything squared away. You guys are all in agreement on what you want to do with the contract and you're ready to go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the hearing from everyone on this. So thank you.
Also, I would say that I think this is what Irv has made a point of saying, is that this is negotiable. We can say what we are offering, but the candidate can say, well, make that a 3-year, So I am totally fine with the 3-year. I just want to make sure that we had considered and discussed it so that we get off on the right foot on that issue, because I think what has been a community question. And so when we talk about it, that is informing the community. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that we've all had a chance to consider.
Well, and I just appreciate, this has been really helpful for me, and I just appreciate being able to have this conversation in sort of digestible chunks so that we have a chance to kind of think about it now, and we have a few more days. If we have follow-up questions at the end of our sessions tomorrow and Friday, we can do that. But I think this has been really helpful for me to just get some clarity. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
I was just
Kelly,
gonna,
did you have something? Oh.
yeah, I was just going to say that this is good information and it's food for thought to take away tonight and ponder and for the next couple of days. you know, and if we have any questions, same as Janet, we can follow up and,
Yeah.
you know, get some answers. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
it's
what-
good food for thought.
Yes, thank you. So what I'm hearing is we'll touch base again tomorrow after our last interview and see how everyone's feeling, if we've come to any sort of consensus on, you know, where you want to go with the length of the contract, and if there's anything else that comes to mind between now and then that you want to talk about contract related tomorrow night, we can, and we can certainly do that on Friday as well.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, and I encourage everybody to take a look at that list of items so that when you know, when we're sitting here talking, it's sort of at the top of your head, like, oh yeah, I did have a question about that. And Jennifer, thank you for, I guess, you know, feeding the system with a couple of good ones, because those are certainly good questions.
Yes. All right. Well, unless there's anything else, I think we are done for the evening.
Yeah, I only have one quick one, just a reminder. I will be missing the very beginning of tomorrow. I did send a note out to the whole board. I know, Sarah, you knew. And I will be joining as soon as I can.
Oh.
And so that's, but that's tomorrow. And like I said, I'm guessing I won't even miss all of our first interviews.
Okay. No problem. Thank you. And Jonathan, good luck tomorrow. And again, I'm very sorry for yours and your family's loss there, and certainly wish you guys all the best. All right. And everyone else, I'll see you by 4:30 tomorrow. Have a good rest of your evening, everyone. And Jonathan will want to adjourn the meeting.
Correct. Yep. And so unless there's anything else, I'm waiting. Nope. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
night, guys. Bye.
Good night.